Hey, what up? It's your boy James Brown coming to you with Musical Living TV. Tonight we're gonna have my girl Charmin Greene coming on all the way from Austin, Texas. The female saxophone extraordinaire. She's working with the lights like Robert Spud Seawright, Doobie Powell, and the list goes on. Man, this girl gonna be coming on dropping some life gems with us, so I hope y'all ready. But as you can see, I got my Musical Living apparel on. This one says First Goddamn Music. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Go to www.mlaapparel.com. Again, that's www.mlaapparel.com. Charmin Greene, James Brown, Musical Living TV. Let's go. So what's up? What's life looking like for you?
Man, interesting during this COVID time. You know, when I say that, most people are like, not really. I'm looking at your social media. You working and working and working, and that I am. You know,
Right.
but I'm still a mom and I'm a teacher. I mean, I'm at school now. You know, in my office. Life is still life. You know, and so in addition to just working, I think that's one part of it. I truly believe, you know, in scripture, and I think that the total man, you know, consists of some major parts, not just
Wow.
the financial, but
So real quick, you said teacher.
Mhm.
So you're a teacher. What subject do you teach?
So I teach K through 8, certified to teach K through 12, band and choir. I've been teaching certified since 2015, privately since 2008.
Tell me like what that looks like to teach and you gigging. Like what does that look like? How do you balance that?
Man, it's a lot of preparation, a lot of planning, a lot of work. I mean, the days start at 5 a.m. and on, you know, Thursday through Sunday when I'm gigging, because there's a lot of gigging. Those days don't end sometimes at 1, 2 a.m. But if you
Right.
got the see and the hustle and the grit to get it done, you get it done. You know, that means meal prepping at home for the kiddos and making sure everything's done. Yeah, it's a lot of work. But
Right. So even with being a mom, I mean, you're a mom, you're a teacher, musician.
yeah,
Like I know balance got to be key, you know, and like you say, preparation. So what does that look like? You know, like from a mom perspective, from a teacher perspective, is it, man, I need to get in, I need to get my lessons done, you know, beforehand or on the weekends, or like, what does that look like?
so from a teacher perspective, you know, during those planning periods and the free time you have in your day, even a lot of times, sometimes a lunch period, you're planning ahead of time, getting those lesson plans out. From a mom perspective, um, the kiddos didn't ask for this life. So, you know, nothing sacrifices for them. So they still have basketball games, volleyball games. They typically, because they're in club and school sports, doing 2 sports a year. So I got roughly just between my 2 daughters, 6 games a week. That's it.
Uh,
I'm a single mom. So from that perspective, it's a lot of planning, a lot of carpooling, a lot of planning with other single moms and just handling that. I think from each perspective, everything gets what it needs. The only thing at some point that will sacrifice is me as an individual, because I just feel like if it's no excuse not to chase your dream. So if that
right.
means sacrificing sleep, we're sacrificing sleep. If that means we're sacrificing something in the budget, we're gonna make sure that what needs to be allocated is allocated, and we'll figure the rest out, you know?
Ooh, you said something really good. Like the sacrifice budgeting. I don't think a lot of us as musicians, I'm gonna say as musicians, we don't budget. It's kind of like we just go with the wind. We want to buy cool, you know, kicks and clothes, and it's like,
Here,
okay, you
ish,
know,
yeah.
I think it's vital.
Most people don't realize how much money they make in a month. And if they would just chart that and look at that,
Right.
they'd be, man, where's my money going? That would make you budget. Like,
Yes. Yes. And
so, yeah,
and
so
sometimes you don't, since you don't budget, you don't realize how much money you may have and how
mhm.
much more you could be doing what you already have.
I got to be honest, one of my dreams and aspirations when all of this settles down, when the touring stops and the gigging stops, one thing that I'm avidly working on right now, I have board members, I have people doctors I reach out to. I'm working to get a fine art school for younger kids. I think that's
Okay.
something that our community statewide just fails at. We wait till they get to high school, we wait till they get to middle school. But what about the fine arts kiddos who are 5, 6, 7, who
Right.
already, that's what they want to do? I think that creativity being developed right then
Hmm.
is, and if you can develop that and maintain the academics that they need, something special about it. We don't have to be a culture that just pushes out athletes mainly. We don't have to be
Right.
a culture that pushes out entertainers only. Like these can be the people that shape the world for everything that's to come. So big
I
goal of mine.
agree. And I mean, if you think about it, music is that one language that everybody understands.
Mm-hmm.
It's a universal language.
Most definitely.
Everybody, I don't care where you go, everybody understands it,
Most
you
definitely.
know. And as a musician, you have to think about like what you're playing and how that translates, not trying to be too confusing. What's the
Yep.
saying? Keep it simple. What? Keep it simple, stupid. Like don't try to do too much. Communicate on the level that everybody can understand.
But I kind of want to give you a backstory on the music.
Let's do it.
I was always taught I'm one of three kids. I'm the oldest. I'm the only girl. But my dad was military. And with him being that way, certain things were really rigid, but certain things, they were always relational.
Okay.
And I always got them. And he would always say to me when we're listening to music together, Charmin, an album is a snapshot of your life.
Mm.
I started going back and looking at, Kurt, George Clinton, Steely Dan. I mean, I'm looking at everything because if it's a principle, it's a principle. It needs to apply everywhere. And I started seeing just that when you hear the backstories to these albums. Well, with my album, this album, my dad wrote most of the songs. The single that's out, Sweet Liberty, my dad, Greene, wrote when I was 3, maybe, and I just remembered it. And one day just started playing. And he's like, how in the world do you know that? Whatever. So he writes this music more than 30 plus years ago. I come back and recorded most of the music he wrote. And the snapshot of my life at that point, I was unfortunately going through a divorce. We just realized this was not going to work between the two of us. Really, a lot of mental challenges, a lot of fighting, staying away from depression, because for some people it is a choice. For some people it's a sickness, but we need to be real. For some people it's a choice. Fighting depression and just some of the mental anguish and the sense of worthiness and the sense of guilt for failure. Um, and I remember going in the studio and playing. And when I listened to the first take of those songs, it sounded like everything I was fighting.
Wow.
One day I get in the studio and I play Sweet Liberty, and it's just like this break. And that solo that you hear on there is a one take solo. And it's like, man, the name of the song is Sweet Liberty. It really is sweet when we choose to be whole, when we choose to be the best version of ourselves. And I had
Right.
made a decision, whether it was looking at divorce, whether it was looking at finances, whether it was looking at familial challenges, whatever it was, that's what I chose to do. And so, with that being said, completed an entire album. I have not released this album yet. And the reason I haven't is because I want to go back in the studio and let it be a snapshot of my life now, with that freedom and that peace and that joy. So Sweet Liberty opened the floodgates, but the stuff that's to come, man, all I can tell you is imagine Beyonce with a sax in her hand, like full blown
Man,
dancing choreography, but can actually play.
that's crazy. So I was hearing like the depression stuff, kind of mental challenges. What helped you get through that? I know it was music, but outside of music, was it like therapy? Was it meditation?
So
What else did you do
a
that
few,
helped you with that?
I think the most important thing that a person can do is come to a point of self-acknowledgement.
Hmm.
That's acknowledging just what is, but it is impossible to do that without inviting the creator to help you do so.
Right.
We know the truth that we see, but we will never know the entire picture. And to see what he sees, we have to invite him into that. And so with that, for me, it came a lot of meditation, A lot of feeding myself scriptures because of my personal beliefs, a lot of therapy. Um,
Right.
as a culture, we kind of stay away, from talking about our problems with other people. But if
I
that's what
agree.
the best version of you, we need to get to therapy. Um, and talk. There's a scripture, and I bring up scripture because my beliefs are there, that says the children of this world and their generation are wiser than the children of light. And it simply says the people in the world that sometimes the church judges so harshly really do have the wisdom to help us get to where we need to be.
Right.
And so I use all of it, everything that I believe the creator put on this earth. I use it to help me get to where I need to go. And when I got to the place of self-acknowledgement, a couple of things happened. I stopped treating myself as a victim, because at
Right.
some point, to become a conqueror or more than a conqueror, you have to acknowledge where you allow certain things. I could say, oh, that relationship was terrible. He was this, he was that. Well, he couldn't do what I didn't let him do. You know,
Facts.
when we get to that space, then we are not so quick to play the blame game and deflect, but we're quicker to say, all right, what is my responsibility now to do what I got with what I got left? There's another scripture that says, strengthen that which remains. All right, this is what we got left. How are we gonna make it work? How are we gonna maximize on it? How are we gonna build on it? And that's where I am, so that's what we can do.
Man, I hear your background, them
Yeah,
scriptures, man.
yeah.
One thing I like that you said is the self acknowledgement. Also, the main thing that I think, like you say, our culture, we don't like to go to therapy. The thing is, it don't have to be anything wrong. You can be perfectly fine and still going to therapy.
So true.
It's to get help, to get better. No matter if it's bad or if it's extremely well, it's to get help to get better. It's not, oh, I'm in a funk or I'm going through this. Yeah, you should go to therapy when you're going through certain things, but yeah, it's we have to change our mentality when it comes to therapy and things like that. As a female artist, like how do you do it? Like how have you gotten into the situations you're in as a female artist?
I wish I could give you one pinpointed answer. I can only give you I guess, the big points that I
Okay.
know have been guaranteed for me. One is it's someone higher than me looking out for me. There are places that I've been in that nobody can make it add up to where I got there. I'm not the most beautiful in the room. I'm not the best player in the room, but the opportunity was mine and nobody could take it away. And if I couldn't stand in confidence in anything else, I could stand in the fact that somebody was looking out for me. Um, Two, um, I have to say that beauty has a lot to do with it. I will not denounce it. I used to hate it. I used to hate, oh, she sounds good for a girl.
Right.
I hate those compliments. It makes me continually work, so I don't get those. But now I acknowledge the fact that, hey, I didn't ask to be made like this. I'm the tomboy at heart. Give me some basketball shorts, a cap,
Uh-oh, what's up now?
yeah, some space jams, and I'm good to go. You know?
Right, right.
But I have to acknowledge that being a woman and having the grace to get on stage, and not just get on stage, but respect and love on my brothers regardless of color, but just acknowledging that they're a man in this male-dominated field, and I'm a woman that's been blessed to stand here. I treat it just like that. I appreciate the opportunity. If somebody has something to say, I let them know it's an honor to share the stage with you. I think how we handle things in grace makes a difference between us being welcomed back or even respected while we're there. This culture all too often gets on this independent chick, don't need nobody, blah, 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 blah. It's some old school appreciation to be said about being able to respect and regard a man, but hold your own as a woman. You
Right.
know, so being a woman, I would just say that. Other than that, there are people who are watching you, who are watching where your skill was a year ago, who are watching where your skill was 5 years ago, and hear you today and will say, "Yo, I see you putting in the work. I see it happening." And a lot of these people, for me now, are people that I looked up to as a kid. Like, they are the greats on saxophone, and I'm
Right.
having text messages with them or we're talking via social media or in person, whatever it is, constantly. Like it's honoring and humbling at the same time. Because it says that now at some point now you're getting to the level with your teacher. Still striving, still attaining, but it's our responsibility to reach back. And I can't reach back if I haven't gone forward, so. So I have a few events coming up, but if I could be honest, I'm almost scared to announce some things and all this wonderful stuff happening. So what
I
I could,
know.
follow my social media, follow the website, which we'll announce later. One big thing that I'm so happy about, and you kind of got the preview, so I'll have to come back and debut this video with you if you're cool with that.
Yeah.
We're doing a video shoot, and there's a song that's called, on my record, Pain and Progression. Pain and progression is simply about, the stuff that you lost along the way, the people that you had to let go of, the people who you really loved, but it didn't work out. And while you're heartbroken, you got to keep moving on to get to the place where you're supposed to be.
Right.
Well, Pain and progression is my version of trap jazz. So it's a trap beat the whole time. I call it riding music. We are doing a video shoot with that song, and full-blown choreography for I'm looking for. This is, it's completely unexpected. That's all I can say. So
nice.
Yeah, looking for that. Hopefully April, I believe 2021 should be dropping. For those who are the dreamers are blessed with the curse of overthinking. And I know that's an oxymoron in itself, but it's just that. Dreamers are blessed with the curse of overthinking because they want to know, am I significant in this? Do I matter here? What if I don't do this? What if I do that? This group doesn't like me. The dreamers have to realize that something so especially unique about them that they end up being the trailblazers. And a lot of that is selling identity. There's two things I'd like to leave with them. One, I was playing at this event for the NFL, Domestic Violence Awareness. And this guy steps up on stage and he talks about a blade of grass who can be mowed down tomorrow, who will be just dried up hay, who will be eaten by a horse or a cow. A blade of grass, one little blade of grass. And it seems so insignificant, but that blade of grass in its specific timing here, while it's growing, before it's mowed down, oxygenates the world just a little bit more so that we can breathe easier. And so if there's a creator who placed that blade of grass here that has that much significance in its short life, what about ours? That's one. The significance can never be paralleled with anything else because there's something that only you are sent here to do. Only you are sent here to dream up. May seem insignificant to you, but I guarantee you there will be generations to come that will benefit from it. The other thing is a story that I was always taught. It was about this businessman who leaves these guys who are basically helping him in his business with a certain bit of money. He leaves one, let's just say with $100, one with $200 and another one with $500. He comes back, the one with 500 doubles to 1,000, the one with 200 doubles to 400, the one with 100 does nothing. He buried it. The head guy, the owner of these businesses, looks at him and says, "Great, the one with 500 to 1,000, let me give you more. You can manage more. The one with 200 double to 4, great, you can do more." The one with 100, he pretty much, let him go. He cursed him like, "You could at least put my money in the bank and let it got return on it." And I used to think the moral of that story was, make sure you double.
Right.
Not the moral of the story. I thought that's what it was. My dad would always tell me the significance of that story. If you go back and analyze it, when the 2 doubled to 4, he was never where the 5 even started. And the point of that story is to remind you that you're judged by your potential, not your performance. There are gobs of musicians and gobs of people who know that they're better than people, who know that they play better, sing better, do whatever they do better, but don't have the opportunities, are frustrated because they don't seem like they're getting ahead, are mad because they feel like they're getting looked over. When the point of it all is, what is your potential? Where are you supposed to be? What's your opportunity? And if people can just remember, you're judged by your potential and not your performance, they would get so much further in life.
Man, I've heard you a few times mention your dad. Like he seems like he's been very, very vital in your life. Like there, like dad, hey, you here? So talk to me about him.
My dad, my dad, born in Chicago, raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, um, had well accomplished parents, but parents who had vices and things that they chose over him. And so my grandmother, amazing pianist. She was a National Baptist pianist from the time she was 5 years old.
Hmm.
Absolutely amazing classical pianist. His dad was well known as a coach there that at some point would help train Olympians back in that day, around the 60s. But at home, grandma couldn't stop using drugs and alcohol together. Dad, same thing, alcoholic, end up dying at 58. But until then, ridiculously abusive, verbally and physically. To this day, you can see the mark on my dad's forehead for when he busted his head in a cocktail table, a glass cocktail table.
Mm.
And my dad, with him dying at 12 and him basically having to raise my grandmother because of her choices, when he became a dad, I can just remember him saying, as far back as I remember, he didn't know how to be the best dad. He just knew the only guide he had was to do the opposite of what his dad did. Between that and trusting God to combine the two, that's what he did. And it seemed so simple, but then I look at him and my mom have been married 38 years, no infidelity.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no infidelities, no one mom, one dad, you know? It's like, yeah, you had to have something there. But because he grew up in the streets, so to speak, and he's a pastor now.
Okay.
Because he grew up in the streets, I grew up learning about cultures. I grew up learning about not just the religious setting I was in, and I grew up Kojic. So if you know anything about Kojic, all right. I grew up Kojic. Kojic is
Live
great.
it and love me. Nah.
Kojic is great in practices, it's in consistency, and YPWW and learning the books of the Bible. But sometimes we missed it as a culture in Kojic when it came to the real person. And my dad would always back, he was like, hey, when you sit down with this culture, it's rude to show your feet. When you do this with this culture, I need to know Vedanta Hindu. I needed to know Muslim. I need to know Catholicism. He wanted me to know about the world. He would ask me a question. How do you go out and compel people to join what you love if you don't know about them? You're being disrespectful. And so my dad was all about being the best version of you, but being the best version of you to the world, not to your small circle. Alone. I tell people, kids are your biggest legacy. They know what's happening in that house when no one else does. They are going to naturally live it out without you saying a word. It's just going to happen. I'm sure by me talking, you could tell what my mama did. I'm their walking legacy. At the end of the day, that part, those relationships being in order, man, that speaks to so much more. And that's where a lot of the respect for myself. And I haven't seen you even in person with your family, but I've seen you in person. No, there was no disrespect. There was no question of a line being drawn with someone. So I have to say kudos on that, because that's even bigger. That supports the message being pushed.